I think so. You ready? We'll get it. All right, it is 4:31 on Thursday, April 24th, 2025, and I call this meeting of the Meridian Historic Preservation Commission to order. Roll call, Blaine Johnston's here, Pam Jagosh. Jack Keller. Heather Giacomo.
Here.
Patrick Giddings.
Here.
Ken Freeze.
Here.
Deborah Pitts.
Here.
Thank you. Adoption of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Freeze, second by Commissioner Giddings for adoption of the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Approval of minutes from our March 27th meeting.
And Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the minutes from our last meeting.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Freeze, second by Commissioner Giddings for approval of our minutes from March 27th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval's confirmed. New business. Preservation Idaho. Brittany, you're up.
The good sign.
Welcome.
Thank you. I don't know. I'm good. Okay. Maybe try this one. Can you hear? Good afternoon. My name is Brittany Siciliano. I am the current board president of Preservation Idaho. And I want to really thank all of you for allowing me to come and present today on who we are, what we do, and preaching to the choir about why is preservation important. So, who are we, first of all? Well, we are a group that love to explore, especially on foot. It's the best way to see some things. We offer several programs. Much like your walking tours, we too have several walking tours. Our most popular would be our ARC walks, not Arch, but ARC, for architectural walks. Those run every year, May through September. Those are given by industry docents that we have. So several architectural historians. We have a couple of teachers that give docents. In the past, we have had students. We tend to shy away from that just a little bit these days, though. And we also do our Walkabout Boise tours, which I think are probably similar to your north and south walking tours, which I have been perusing and look fantastic. Again, those run every Saturday, May through September as well. We love to point at things, specifically highlighting architectural details, historical elements, whether it's on our walking tours, biking tours, driving tours. There is always something fascinating to discover. We also believe in hands-on preservation. Here, volunteers are assisting with the restoration of the Surgeons General's quarters at the Boise VA Hospital. And we love to celebrate. From the 19th century to mid-century, any century beyond, we enjoy dressing up and commemorating our successes. As many of you know, successes in preservation are often long and hard-fought, so we celebrate whatever we can. So while I think we are the most interesting organization, let me give you a few things to hopefully convince you. We were founded in 1972 by Joan Carley and Mary Lesser and several other Boiseans. Originally the Idaho Historic Preservation Council. It was a statewide nonprofit organized to protect Idaho and Boise's heritage in response to what many of you may remember, the downtown Boise Mall coming in several years ago. So this effort was highlighted by L.J. Davis in a 1974 Harper's Magazine article about Joan and Mary. We are a statewide organization led by an all-volunteer board of directors. We are a 501c3 nonprofit that receives no ongoing federal, state, or local government funding. We rely entirely on donations, sponsorships, memberships, and grants. And we have a dedicated full-time staff member, Kelly, who I have lined up for sainthood, our part-time social media manager, Nina, and we are currently hiring too fast, for a part-time operations and program director. So never in our 53-ish, 52-year history have we ever had a full-time staff member, let alone two additional part-time staff members. So good or bad, we are growing. Oh, thanks for taking me back. What do we do exactly? Well, most people think preservation means freezing everything in time and living like we're in a museum. You all know that that's not exactly the case. Our mission is to preserve Idaho's historic places through collaboration, education, and advocacy. And here's how we put all of that into action. This is where my slides got funky, so forgive me. We partner with state and local governments as well as private owners to help safeguard our historic places. In Boise, and this will probably be covered up, we had a recent, I call it recent historic district, although it was several years ago, and probably like Meridian, it's hard to get a new historic district established. But we did have a home, this particular home actually was under threat of demolition. And so Preservation Idaho worked very hard with the city of Boise and the homeowner. And actually we were able to establish a new historic district, which is no small feat. And we did that in, I think, 6 months' time. My 9-year-old daughter at the time was able to testify in that hearing and said, people don't just want to read about places, they want to see them. Out of the mouths of babes. The Irma Heyman House, which is also in Boise, we've been working on that for decades, actually. And we have, with the help of the city of Boise, from the start of Preservation Idaho, we have done a lot of work to help save that place. And our final goal is to get that neighborhood listed as a local historic district as well. Fingers crossed, knocking on wood. The Surgeon General's quarters, again, that was another project that we worked on. There's the Bishop Foot House, which was moved off of the St. Luke's property, a 300-ton home that was moved off of the property. If any of you drove by it at the time, fascinating to see a 300-ton brick home sitting up on wheels being moved down the street. That's the Surgeon General's quarters. My apologies that my text overrides that. This is the historic Cunning-Moore house that was tastefully renovated and rehabbed through the Otter family after years of not neglect, but not good love either. We worked with them as well as with the SHPO getting that home restored to a full family home. And this home was in downtown Boise's 5th Street neighborhood, which now sits a large apartment complex. But with Preservation Idaho's very own Frank Eld, we were able to get that moved. And it now graces a roundabout near St. Luke's as you're coming down State Street to the end that is kind of the culmination of the end of State Street. Here we've got the Tolith House, which was a recent Orchid Award winner a couple of years ago. We also have Meridian Speedway, which I think you all know and worked hard to get on the National Register, the only speedway in the nation on the National Register. And of course, the double silos, which we have been paying very close attention to and having our advocacy committee and our boots on the ground at the ready when the time looks like it's near. So we also educate. The Irma Heyman House is probably one of our biggest pieces of education. We've invested in over a decade in this neighborhood and with this house, starting way back in 2013. Mrs. Heyman, as a Black Idahoan, was limited to where she could live in the city of Boise, and her story reflects the experiences that many people experienced. So following her death in 2019, the Capital City Development Corporation acquired that property. We had no idea what was going to happen with it. And a few years later, PI organized volunteers to go in and clean and secure the vacant house, followed by an archaeological investigation. And then in September of 22, the Boise City Arts and History Department took it over as a cultural site. And additionally in 22, Preservation Idaho received a $25,000 grant from the National Trust to create a walking tour, create signage, and ultimately get that listed as a as a local historic district. We also have the Idaho Time Machine, which is a tool for educators to teach history through interactive projects, focusing on architectural style, historical events, agricultural, building materials, economics, and geography. Think fourth grade Idaho history. It's an important tool for creating passion around history and Idaho's culture and architecture, all the while teaching students about saving places. We have the Idaho Architecture Project, which hopefully many of you have accessed at one point or another. This is a community-powered catalog that documents historic properties across the state of Idaho, and its main focus is under the Education Committee of Preservation Idaho. It's a wiki format resource, so anyone can go on and add a home and add the home's history. We do have a group of professionals who look at it and correct it. It originally started as the Boise Architecture Project in a classroom in 2006, led by our own board member, Doug Stan, and his AP history students. Realized that it was much larger than just Boise, so it's become the Idaho Architecture Project. And our Orchids and Onions Awards, we tried not to give onions, but every so often, there's just some bad stuff out there. We have our next Orchids and Onions coming up. We were trying for the Toloth House, but size dialed us back a little bit, but it will be, I think, on July 26th. So stay tuned for that. Nominations are open. We encourage you to put anything forward, good or bad. We prefer the good and highlighting the good if we can. And then one of our very favorites, our largest fundraiser of the year, is our Heritage Homes Tour. And this is an opportunity that we work with local homeowners in a specific area. They open their doors generously to us and allow our visitors to come through, tour the home. We have docents in the home. This year, that will be in the Mountain View neighborhood that has a really fascinating history that we want to highlight. No protections, and we try to show some of those neighborhoods that don't have protections so that should we need to advocate later down the line, we have boots on the ground to do that. That will be Sunday, October 5th. And then, of course, we advocate. One of our biggest things that we are going to be working towards and have been talking about for years is the state historic tax credit. We know it's a heavy lift, but it's a worthwhile one. There are 39 states in the country that do it, and Idaho has a history that warrants the tax credit and more to match the national tax credit. Lots of details will go into it. We'll see where we get, but it's going to be one of the best ways that we can help preserve and protect some of these Idaho landmarks that we have. A couple of businesses that have taken advantage of the federal historic tax credit. This is the Whitman Hotel in Pocatello. Just kidding. I can't remember what that one is. The middle one is the Whitman Hotel. The bottom one is Hotel Moscow. The Owyhee in Boise. This is the Twin Fills Milling and Elevator Warehouse, and then the Beardmore Block in Priest River. So under our education and advocacy, we also have Idaho Modern. Mid-century is a relatively new protection for preservation, but we are past that 50-year mark, so it's important that we're protecting that history too. So Idaho Modern was founded in 2010 to promote the appreciation and awareness of mid-century, modernist, and recent architecture and design and education, recognizing the need to study, survey, and save Idaho's modern architecture gems. They focus on public education regarding this significant period in time. The advocacy committee is under the umbrella of Preservation Idaho. Tours, exhibitions, lectures, they party also. They meet monthly, they're called the Mod Squad, and do a lot of outreach events. They've been a little silent the last couple of years, but we've got a new crew leading them. They're up and running, and so we'll be focusing on 2 tours this year, one of them being the Heritage Home Tour, as it is more of a little bit, leans towards a mid-century neighborhood. The home that you see is the Teeters Knoll home. It's the only Frank Lloyd Wright home in the state of Idaho. That's one of the tours that we will be doing in September. I think it is already sold out. If not, grab a ticket because it's a fascinating, fascinating home. Henry Whitting, who owns the home, he's Mr. Frank Lloyd Wright reinvented, I guess. He's the perfect person to care for this incredible home. So we also have the Idaho Heritage Barn Register, and this is to recognize Idaho's agricultural heritage and document our historic and agricultural buildings. These barns serve as a constant visual reminder of our agricultural importance to the state and the economic prowess that agriculture has brought to this state. The core of the barn register is voluntary, and preservation is voluntary with preserving these. It's not mandatory. I know through the legislature, they're looking at a bit of a tax credit towards some of these agricultural places. So we feel that this ties in really well with that and protecting some of these barns. So why is all of this important? Why do we need? You all are here, you're doing the same, I call it brick walls and bottle of wine work that we do. We bang our head on brick walls and soften the blow with a bottle of wine. But why are we here? Why do we care about this? Many of these buildings are privately owned. Many are, we have the right to do as we wish with our own properties. But we hear concerns about the high cost of renovation for modern use, safety and code compliance issues, energy efficiency. But what makes them special? What makes us want to prioritize and protect them? Why do we work so hard to save these places? Again, in the words of my now 14-year-old, my daughter, people don't just want to read about places. They want to see them. When you're there in front of a building hearing the story, it has a much deeper pull than just reading about something in a booklet or a magazine. They also preserve the stories and context that would be lost through demolition. For example, on this page, the Nathan Smith home in the upper right corner was built with river rock from the Boise River, and actually described in the Idaho Statesman many years ago as having an interior that was incredibly solid. So homes just are not built the same way that they used to be. A common misconception that you all know as well is that National Register listings provide protection. They don't. They're honorary, and they afford you the opportunity to buy a very expensive plaque and put on your home. So we're constantly working towards local historic districts that can only be approved by certified local governments, which the City of Meridian is, and then of course your City Council. But why are we dedicated to saving these? Well, it fosters human interaction, showcases craftsmanship that is either unavailable or no longer attainable, and who doesn't connect with the Maytag lady on Vista Avenue? There are numerous studies that show the benefits of having historic properties. They increase commercial usage. It's more affordable lease options for startup businesses, and it's a tool for leveraging public investment and creating jobs. Preservation projects can save 50 to 80% in infrastructure costs compared with new development, and 60% of those costs actually go directly to labor. So we see it's an economic benefit as well. It also is economically sound, fiscally responsible, a cost-effective strategy in yielding visible and measurable economic benefits. It safeguards architectural elements and craftsmanship that we can't replace, and it encourages heritage tourism. And I know this was a while ago, but in 2005, 81% of people touring, traveling 50 miles or more, were going for cultural and heritage tourism. One of my very favorite things about preservation is the conservation around it. And when we talk about preservation and we're looking at conserving our resources for the future, preservation is one of the best ways to do that. It is the best way to have a positive impact on the environment. Recent calculations indicate it takes 35 to 50 years for an energy efficient new building to save the amount of energy lost by demolishing the existing one. So even though we're tearing down and we're building something new, energy efficient, it's decades before we're actually efficient. I have lots of other facts, but I'm not gonna bore you with those. Contrary to the idea that historic buildings are energy hogs, some are as energy efficient, even more so than buildings constructed in later decades. Actually, those that were built before 1920 are more energy efficient than anything built afterwards, with the exception of the 2000s. So despite the reports, evidence, and facts, we still face a constant uphill battle for preservation. It is achievable, it is essential, and we will continue our efforts with the brick walls and bottles of wine. If I move forward to our Orchid Award winners, these are the people who really statewide help us get that word out about preservation. A few of these winners last year recognized for their historic efforts in various categories. We've got the Avery Hotel in downtown Boise that sat vacant for years and years. Longfellow School, we have a long working relationship with the Boise School District, and it didn't always start out so great, but we have a great relationship with them now. We have the Schick Ostalasa Farmstead, and two of my favorites, Tony Edmondson, who is out of Weiser, who's done a lot of preservation work, and then Rika Wilson, who was with the BLM Forest Service years doing preservation work. So what can you do? Become a member. Our members are vital to our mission. We are passionate about the work we do, but we cannot do it alone. Advocate for that state historic tax credit with us. This will provide crucial incentives for property owners to preserve our historic places. Serve on a Preservation Idaho committee. We don't say no to anyone who wants to join. Whether your interest lies in advocacy or education, events, or you see something that we're missing, we are happy to get the wheels turning on just about anything. Of course, visit a historic site. Idaho has hundreds of fascinating historic sites waiting to be explored. And join us for a walk, whether it's our ARC Walk tours. We do have a bike tour, I think, again this year, or the downtown ones that we have as well. To become a member, preservationidaho.org. I would be a bad president if I didn't put that plug in. So finally, I'd like to share some of the buildings that sparked the birth of Preservation Idaho. As I mentioned earlier, the threat of demolition of some of downtown Boise's buildings for that mall really galvanized this group of people to come together. And these buildings, I think, are fairly recognizable. We've got the Alexander Building, the Broadbent Building, of course, the Egyptian Theater. I can't imagine not having the Egyptian Theater around. The Fidelity Building, the Idaho Building. This is the Union Block Building, the big center, and of course the Boise City National Bank Building. All tell a story and all have deep history that nobody would probably read about unless you happen to visit one of those buildings. So I want to thank you very much for allowing me to tell you a little bit about what we do. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have or clarify anything that I didn't make clear.
I had a question, if I might, about the state historic tax credit.
Yes.
Is there someone in the legislature right now that's kind of on that side and is going to take steps in the future?
Not that we know of, but we have pretty good convincing skills. I know I've got a meeting with a couple of gals who have been working on this for several years, and it's sat dormant for a bit. And this legislative session was a little fun, for a lack of a clearer term, I guess. And so there is some hesitation around it. And we know in order to make this work, we're going to have to really rally a lot of people together and a lot of troops, looking at even potentially hiring someone to help take this on. But we do have a good working relationship with several legislators. So we're hoping that one of them will be able to present when the time comes. I don't know that it will be next year, might be in 2026. But we also know, we have, excuse me, our governor seems to be fairly pro-preservation. So we don't know what happens after his term, whether he's coming back for another term or not. But we know it's important and we know it needs to be done. Many bottles of wine later.
Mr. Chair, I have a question also about the tax credit. Would that be for commercial buildings or residential or both?
It would be more towards commercial buildings. I don't know that we've really worked out a way to make it fair for residential buildings. So it would lend more towards commercial rehabilitation. Yes, thank you.
Questions? I've got two. Is there anything in Meridian that Preservation Idaho is looking at?
As far as,
Buildings, projects?
we are always looking at buildings and projects in Meridian. So right now, the ones that we're really focused on are the double silo.
Okay.
That's a top priority on our advocacy list. And I know you all are working on your historic preservation plan. So if there's any way that we can help with that, we're an organization, we don't always know what's going on unless we're told what's going on. So that's why we're doing a lot of outreach right now. In the past, Preservation Idaho has been sort of thought of as a Boise-centric, and that's not my goal. My goal is to make sure that we are known as a statewide organization and offering statewide help. So if it's a local historic district, if it's preservation plans, if it's protection of a threatened property, we are here.
I guess that leads me to my next question. Part of our preservation plan we're working on is, do we want to present classes to the public on what they can do? Are you guys available to come down and help us with something like that?
Absolutely, we are. Yes, and we work really closely with the SHPO also. So we make sure that we have the right professionals guiding us as well, that we're not doing things that we know that we can't do or saying things that are maybe beyond our reach. We work really closely with the SHPO, so those preservation plans typically run through the SHPO. But we are happy to come in and provide education around that, promote it. I was talking with Cassandra, that's something that we can definitely help promote as well through our newsletters and our social media to get the word out about that plan.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you for coming down this afternoon.
Thank you all. I appreciate your time.
Appreciate it. With that, we'll go on to old business. Recap our first guided walking tour of the season and public outreach events. I counted roughly 18 to 20 people at our tour on Saturday. Went into two groups, I think worked out very well. I heard general comments that people liked it, but I didn't hear anything specific. So I don't know if you guys did or not on the tour that you could pass on.
I think that the comments that we heard were pretty positive on our end too. I mean, I don't know that there's anything in particular. People were just kind of curious how often we do the tours and, things like that.
I think the schoolhouse is always a highlight of the tour. It's more than just walking by a building, get to go inside. And see.
Right.
Right.
Oh, in this particular tour, the Tola House was also open. Again, get to go inside and see the house. I wonder if at some future date, we might be able to set up something where we had a bunch of homes open, maybe once a year or something. Because there's a curiosity, to see what the homes are like on the inside. I realize we'd have to coordinate it with the owners, and they'd have to be agreeable, and there's a lot of moving parts, but I know of some other places that do those sorts of things with historic homes. Once a year, they open them up. Be nice if we could do that.
I'm gonna ask Brittany to come back up again.
Yeah, that sounds like something that you guys are already doing in Boise, right?
I didn't want to speak out of turn, but that's exactly what our Heritage Home Tour is,
Yeah.
is we, somehow we convince people to open up their homes and they do it gladly. And so that's absolutely something that we can help with.
Yeah.
We're working with the city of Pocatello. They do a version of a Heritage Home Tour, very similar to what you're talking about. And we're going to be helping them put their tour on as well. So we would love to be a part of that and help out. Yeah, we're good at door knocking.
Thank you. Another resource for us. And I don't know if this one, I guess our public outreach, at the Toll House, in our survey, I asked Cassandra to do some numbers for me. I guess we've had 74 respondents to our survey so far as of today. So I think that's a good number for us. Hopefully we can get a few more by the time it ends next month.
Was it May 8th? Is that?
I believe May 8th is when it closes.
Yeah, I couldn't remember for sure.
I think maybe once a week, if we can put a post out, just reminding people to take the survey, see what we can do, and then whatever we put out, if you guys can share on your accounts. Yeah, like I said, people have people that follow you that don't follow, Meridian history, so, the more we have, the better we're gonna be.
Preservation Idaho, you could repost that too. You would,
Perfect.
you would have a bigger reach than my followers.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments on our walking tour?
Just that it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. The
Weather was great.
weather was great. So wish that happened in July and August. It is what it is. We'll go on to item 4, HPC review and discussion, historic preservation plan draft documents. Have you guys got a chance to read through it again? Any comments? I think,
I confess that I forgot.
oops.
And so I don't have, I opened it and looked at it briefly and went, that looks pretty doggone good.
I read through it again today. I think it looks really good. I think everything is there we need to do. So I don't know what the next step, Cassandra, what's going to go on.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, so there were 2 documents. One of them was just a summary, mostly of everything that I had sent them from the comp plan, and they just pulled things out from, the comp plan and the code existing that relates to historic preservation. So that one's just a summary of that. And then the other one is just a draft outline of the historic preservation plan. So yeah, if you all could just take a look at that, and then if you have any comments or questions, let me know. There might not be many comments or questions at this point on it, but if there's anything, this is kind of where they're starting from. And so they're continuing to work on the plan from here.
Yeah, so you guys, if you see anything, go ahead and just send it back to Cassandra with notes, and then she can pass it on to.
Should we give that a week? Should we put a date on that so that we can let them know?
I would think have comments back by the end of the month. That gives us a week from today.
Yeah, because I mean, once the outline is approved, then they can go, full guns ahead.
Okay. Go on to other updates. I think we've got our calendar scheduled or set for this year's walking tours. So we'll do through September. Double check. Who's leading May's tour?
That's me, I think, in theory.
I've got challenge coins for you.
Okay,
I forgot to give them out last time, so take those with you because I'm not going to be here for that tour.
okay.
So yeah,
Heather, you're on that one too, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Mr. Chair, what are the challenge coins?
we had these made a few years ago, when we started that walking tour app. And the people that did the app and that time they answered some questions, we gave them a coin. But now if they go on our walking tour, we'll just give them the challenge coin as a thank you. So, yeah, make sure we give those out again, because I forgot last month, so. Brittany, that's for you. Good.
Nice.
Yeah, so yeah, double check your schedules so you can make it. So we'll go on. Um,
On the walking tours, so maybe we should talk about Pine Street School.
So right now, I talked to them last week on the tour. We're going to do the school every other month. So we will not do the school this month in May, but we'll do it again in June, not July, but we'll do it in August.
Okay.
That
So-
way we can concentrate on that north tour and not have, trying to cross Main Street with 15, 20 people.
Yeah. That, yeah, and that's why I thought it might be good to discuss that here, because stopping at Pine Street School when you have a 1 hour tour, that's 15 or 20 minutes right
Mhm.
there, because it is very interesting. And those guys do a really great job, but it does eat up a pretty big chunk of time and just doesn't allow us to get any further within the hour. So I like the idea of kind of doing this every other month. I hope that people aren't disappointed by that.
I told people on tour that come back every month, because the way I give a tour is different than the way Commissioner Giddings, Commissioner Freeze gives a tour. You're going to get different information from whoever's leading a tour. So they can come back the next month, they'll get a chance to go to school and do something else. So they're always going to learn going on the tours.
Agreed.
Commissioner Giddings, do we want to have Cassandra talk to the Toloth House? Do we want to have that on the tour in May?
It will be a part of the tour in Maine. We could stop in. It would just be more of a drop in. I know that we can do that.
I would recommend, so Elizabeth has her contact information. That sheet that I gave out last month, it has the Pine Street School contacts
Mhm.
and Elizabeth. So I recommend just contact them ahead to confirm if you want to visit them or not.
I believe Elizabeth said she's not having an event or something going on there, she'd be happy to have it open.
Mhm. So I'll do that. I'll reach out on that date, because we definitely could stop by. We'll be walking right past her front door, so.
Yeah, like I said, if nothing else, you can just walk past and get a good look at it. But if she's not doing anything, then she'll open up briefly for us to go through and,
And by that time, we will have walked away, so it might not be bad to stop for a minute and
yeah.
take a breath, you know?
Next up is addition to the virtual tour on Main Street by Hull Films. I know we've asked Brandon to hold off until now. Things are in bloom. So have you heard a schedule from Hull Films?
I haven't, but I will reach out to him this next week because I think, yeah, it's looking pretty nice out there now. So probably if he could have the photography done in the next month or two would be good.
Okay, perfect. Lastly on that is potential nomination for the the Samzo's Mill on the National Registry. I have reached out to them again. I have not heard back yet. I do have another contact information from them. So if I don't hear anything from Josh Zamzow soon, I'll reach out again by email and see what they say. So hopefully by next month, we'll have some more information if Zamzow wants us to go forward with that or not. Item 6 is planning for Preservation Month activities. Let me pull up my calendar real quick again. I think we've got the walking tour scheduled for the 17th. And then I don't see on my calendar, put out our sandwich board signs sometime that week before, and then take them down like the 19th or 20th and bring them back to City Hall. So I think, and you said you'd help.
Which date are you talking about?
It looks like 14th, 15th of May, come down, get those signs put out in front of the buildings.
Yeah, I can do either day is fine. Just let me know what time you want me here.
Okay, I'll finalize that and I'll send you an email on what day we want to set out and what day we want to pick up. And then, we'll do that, and I think we'll have the walking tour on that Saturday with the Main Street Market, and we should be in good shape.
That's the 17th, right? So I have a crazy idea that I'd like to bring up, and you guys can all shoot it down if you want to.
Only once.
But on the 17th, when we do the walking tour, it'll be Heather and I that'll be doing the walking tour. But what if we could have one or two more commissioners come down and set up a table with our tablecloth and our brochures and just be there for, maybe for the time that the Main Street Market is, or the market is open, and just for people to walk by, and if they wanted to stop and ask questions. If they came at, before 10 o'clock, they might choose to go on the tour. If they came after 10 o'clock, we could give them information about future tours. I don't know if this is a good idea or not. It just popped into my head, so.
We did that last year at one of the Main Street Markets. I think we just have to make sure we have a space available at the market. Is that correct, Cassandra?
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, yes, so Cherie's the market manager. Potentially, if it's a one-time thing, I did ask her for the following month because we're planning that as another public outreach event, and so that was fine. It's potentially booth vendors pay a fee, so she potentially could ask for that, but it's also a community benefit, so maybe she would be fine just having a table there, but she'd be the one to check, yes.
I think it's a good idea.
I think it's a good idea.
I mean, where we met here, just right out in the front, we could just set up the table with the tablecloth on it and brochures and be available to answer questions, so.
Mr. Chair, when you did that at one of the walking tours last year, what kinds of traffic did you get? What kinds of,
I got a lot of traffic doing it because I just sat there and it was on the street. So as people were going from booth to booth to booth, they'd stop by and ask, and I had our brochures up and I had the challenge coins out that they could look at. I gave out a couple of coins just to kids that were there. But everyone was interested in the tours to that. So I got a lot of traffic at that point. Whether that generated stuff later on, I don't know.
Just seems like that would be a good way to promote, especially since that's, since May is our Historic
Mhm.
Preservation Month, that would be a good thing to do.
When's the survey due back? Could
Yeah.
we do it the weekend before? Or I'm just thinking if that would be maybe a good way to get more people interested in the survey
That's a good
as
idea.
well. So what is May 8th?
May 8th is a Thursday, so we'd almost have to set it out like the 3rd.
And that's possible, isn't it?
That's next Saturday.
Yeah, this coming up Saturday, right? Day after tomorrow?
No,
Oh, the
it's
Saturday,
next Saturday.
okay.
This is,
So what time would it start?
when I did it, you had to be down here early because they closed down Broadway. So you have to come down early, set up your booth on the street, and then sit here until 10, until people start showing up. So I guess that's an option if we wanted to do that, then on the 17th.
Just a tour then.
Yeah, just the tour on the 17th, but we could have a table. So, I don't know if that gives us, Cassandra, enough time to coordinate with Main Street Market, have maybe a table on the 3rd rather than the 17th. What are your thoughts?
I can check with Cherie, the market manager. Another thought that I have is, it is just the following week. We've advertised the survey end date to be the 8th, but potentially it could be extended and then maybe that could sort of happen on the same date. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I think the 8th was just an arbitrary date, right? There wasn't necessarily a hard and fast reason, except that we just needed a date.
Whatever date that we plan on doing this, we want to try to tie it into the survey. Would it be possible to have a sheet, maybe a couple of sheets with a QR code so that people could pull out their phone and take the survey right there?
Yeah, and we have those
We have
sheets
those little
already.
flyers.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have those already.
Well,
I-
perhaps
I-
a bigger copy.
Well, I have no problem with the 10th, and if we could extend the survey until just the next day, the 11th, they can come down here and sit.
I could man the table. On the 3rd, I can only do it in the morning. 10th, I can do it anytime.
Why don't we just plan on, I think doing it next weekend would be close, but let's plan on the 10th, see if we can't get a table set up at the market.
Yeah, and have those, and you're right, if people can just take it then.
Right then. One of these at the table, and they just pull their phone out, go right then.
So we would need someone to be here at what time and stay until what time? What are the hours are we
Um,
looking at?
If I remember right, I had to be down here at 7, only because you had to get the table in, get chairs and get everything set up before everything starts. Cassandra, could you email me the contact for the market and I'll reach out and say, we'd like to do this on the 10th. What's the possibilities?
Yes, and the market runs from 9 to 1.
9 to 1. So. Yeah, but they, like I said, they close the street off at probably 6 in the morning. Vendors can come in, park, unload, set up, and then all the vehicles are out of here.
I could do it.
Okay. I will email them tomorrow to find out on May 10th table. And then I'll just send an email out to everybody on times and stuff like that.
If somebody wants to join me, then that's fine.
Yeah,
Well, got another event I gotta be at.
But, whatever, they don't have to stay the whole time or whatever, so.
I don't want to commit just yet because I will be gone the Saturday before. So let me check with my husband. I'm gone quite a bit in May, so I'm trying to tread carefully with keeping the peace.
That's okay. I mean, I think one is okay. I mean, I don't think it's gonna be,
But it would be better if we had two, I think.
yeah, and
Okay.
that's always better, but,
right.
Yeah, let me do some checking. I'll send out an email around.
maybe Pam.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah, like I said, I'll get some specifics and then I will just email everybody on the commission and copy Cassandra. Any other discussions on Preservation Month activities? With that being said, our next meeting will not be on our normal day. It'll be pushed a week to May 29th. Because of a Public Works event here at City Hall. But it will be at the regular time. With that, motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Second?
Motion by Commissioner Free, second by Commissioner Giddings for adjournment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none,